Hey guys, Lawrence here, and since we just recently passed 5,000 subscribers on the channel, I thought it'd be a nice little opportunity to share some things with you that you might not necessarily have known. Some of these are a little bit conventional, some are a little bit weird, but to me, they feel quite natural. So first off, it's a little known thing called TV idents. Now, TV idents are things I take great pleasure in watching, archives and stuff like that. There are YouTube channels like Apple Mask, The Oddity Archive. I love those shows on there. They're just so informative and really historic. Like, watching a video about the history of BBC CFAX, to me, that's really fascinating and intriguing. It's about the history of television. Back at university, for like my second year piece, I had to do some kind of one-man documentary. I say one man, it was a group effort, but I didn't really gel well with people because the previous semester I did a group narrative film project which went horribly. And I was just like, no, I don't trust anyone. And after that, I pretty much worked exclusively by myself. Counterproductive, but it led to where I am today. Whether it's actually any good or not, I'll let you be the judge. This was a documentary, I think it's still on my actual YouTube channel, just buried somewhere from like 2007. It was called The News Where You Are, and it was about local news in the media and just local TV and how it kind of dissipated in the recent years, and it wasn't really a thing. But back in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, we had local news networks and local channels on ITV. We had like TVS and Meridian, and now it's all been homogenized and it's all uniform, and it was just ugh. So I found a place called Solent TV, which was hyping up local news. And there are on Freeview and like digital TV these days channels which cater to London, stuff like that. As luck would have it, when I went down for that interview, the day after, they closed down. So it was like, well, so much for that then. But my passion for local news and idents and stuff like that, it lingered on. And probably from about 2009 to this day, I constantly like watching shows about idents, logos, that kind of stuff. I find branding and stuff like that really fascinating. That's where it stemmed from. If I'm able to find that documentary, if it's still there, I'll link to it up there. Now, thing number 2, aviation. Okay, now this one came out of necessity. I travel maybe 3, 4, 5 times a year to America and different countries. So in my mind, I thought, well, if I'm gonna stay sane while I'm traveling, it's probably for the best that I take up a penchant for airplanes. Between the ages of 5 and the age of 20, I never flew. I don't know whether it was some kind of fear of flying, because I remember flying to like Disneyland on like, I don't know, British Airways or something. I don't remember enjoying it. The only thing I really remember somewhat clearly is that the decor was really dated and screaming or something like that. I have to ask my mum. It was only when we went to Vancouver in 2007 just to spend some time in Canada, as well as go to Anime Evolution, my first ever convention. I'll have to talk about that in another video. It got me back into it. And then 2 years later, I was starting to go to conventions in America and Canada and Finland and all these different countries, Ireland most of all. I just slowly began to develop a passion for it and really get a kick out of watching the planes, go over the house and having flight radar and checking out all the different information, because the planes around here, they fly down as low as 6,000 feet, and that's pretty cool. If you get a huge Boeing 777 from American Airlines coming from like New York or something right over your garden and you see it, you're like, whoa, that's really cool. I know, I'm a bit of a sad act, and maybe you could say I'm a plane spotter. I'd love to go actual plane spotting at Heathrow, because sometimes when I went to work, like in northwest London, I have to go up that certain part of the M25 which is right next to London Heathrow, and sometimes if you're lucky, you can get the planes like going right overhead, like you're talking about maybe just a few hundred feet as they're going into land. That's pretty cool. I listen to audiobooks about aviation. I listen to podcasts even. I mean, I even have one of the shirts from the airline pilot guy. You might have seen it in some of the discussion videos, but yeah, I represent the APG crew. Philly doesn't necessarily share the same thing. It's kind of like what she likes about birds. I don't necessarily get about birds, but I know how much she loves them. And I think it's just the same thing, only my birds are, You know, they're made out of aluminium and nowadays carbon composite. Oh my god. Is it really bad that one of my things to do before I die is to fly business class or fly on the Airbus A350? Yeah, sorry. Okay, I'll stop now. I'll stop now. The third thing, motorsport. Now, I've talked about this before because I used to do online sim racing back in the day, and I dabbled in it in some streams, as you may have seen. But really, I got into it around about late 90s and been watching Formula 1 ever since. And I absolutely adore it. It may get a little bit samey these days, but I still get enjoyment out of it. And nowadays, now I'm able to drive and actually take part in certain things. I love going to track days. I think I've been about to 4 of them now in the last year or two. I absolutely adore them. And again, I did a video for it on the main channel, which, you know, obviously not a lot of people saw because it wasn't Dragon Ball, even though Goku driving cars. But anyway, if I can find it, link up there as well if you want to see it. Maybe I might do more of them and showcase them on this channel, you know, just to get you guys involved. I do have a GoPro. I could just stick it to the car, see where we can go with that one. But I suppose one of the things I really want to do is go to see a Grand Prix live, at least once. But the trouble is, though, which one do we go to? I mean, we can incorporate, like, Japan, go to Singapore, something like that, I don't know. Yeah, I really want to get back into sim racing, I really do. Number 4, amateur dramatics. Now, okay, this one may seem a little bit obvious, but amateur dramatics are my thing. I did them for about 5 years or so, like 2005, 2010, when I was starting voice acting. I also did pantomimes and plays. And they were a lot of fun, and most of the time I get pigeonholed into being the big character because I was really big at the time. I would play those types of characters and, you know, I was kind of pigeonholed. But as I lost the weight, I got to play different characters. And I even got to play a bad guy during a pantomime of Jack and the Beanstalk. It was Demon Greenfly. And for one of the matinees, my wig fell off. And for the rest of the time, a bunch of 8-year-olds would just shout, "Baldy!" at me. You just have to roll with it at Panto. Now that I've recently moved to London, if I can find a local amateur dramatic society, I would love to do more pantomimes and plays. It'd be a lot of fun. I mean, I have the schedule to do so. You know, don't see why not. And finally, the 5th thing that you may not know about me is musicals. I like musicals. And this was going back a longer time because I used to love the musical Cats. And I think the first ever musical I saw was when I was 4, and that was Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat when Jason Donovan was at the Thorndike Theatre. That was a long time ago. I barely remember it, but I remember going, that's for sure. I had that soundtrack, I had the soundtrack for Cats. I even remembered when I was 10 years old trying to get a petition to have Cats as a musical because we did an annual play at my primary school, and they were just completely, like, beside themselves as to, why would you want Cats? I mean, it got shot down almost immediately, but I was determined as a 10-year-old to have a Cats as a musical. We were at a boys-only school, and I don't know what I was thinking. Ever since I started dating Philly, we go to musicals all the time, almost. I mean, whenever we've got time to kill in the house, we just play the Hamilton soundtrack on loop. We went to one called Eugenius twice, and we even spot Matt Lucas in the audience, and that was very surreal in of itself. Went to see Book of Mormon, and we saw Anton Dubek changing seats while we were watching. That was really cool. Book of Mormon, really, really good. Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that was really cool. Just so many, because we're not that far from the West End. I mean, I need to go see Lion King still. There's just so many. Wicked, I've seen Wicked as well. And Kinky Boots, yep. If you guys know of any musicals that are in the West End that we should go and see, just list them down in the comments. You know, we're always open to interpretation and ideas. We do like plays as well. Play That Goes Wrong, fantastic. And Woman in Black, that's really good too. I don't just like anime, I like, you know, just weird stuff. TV idents, musicals, amateur dramatics, aviation. It's a very, very mixed bag, but, you know, variety is the spice of life. I hope this provided a little bit of insight into what I'm like as a person, and that it hasn't put you off in some way. You're thinking, oh my god, you like planes? Oh my god, you're a dork. Well, I got news for you. I'm already a dork, so you don't need to worry about that. thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys found this somewhat enlightening. But until the next one, be sure to share, subscribe, enjoy the content here, and as always, one is glad to be of service.